Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex and today I am going to take you through my entire Beatles vinyl collection. So I'm going to show you all of the Beatles vinyl that I own, and just for anybody that's interested, I thought I would kind of revivify the channel somewhat due to the fact that we are now in the UK. We have just been sent into our third national lockdown for obviously the ongoing pandemic, which is unfortunate, but it does mean that I have a bit more time on my hands to make videos, like I did last year during the first lockdown where I made a few videos. So stay tuned on the channel. I should have some pretty cool videos coming up relating to Dylan, and I might do a vinyl update as well, showing some recent acquisitions and additions to the collection. But yes, today I'm going to go through my entire Beatles collection, which comprises probably of about 20 to 25 albums. So not a huge collection by anyone's standards, but I think significant enough to make a video on. The Beatles are a band that I have kind of had a love and hate relationship with over the years. Maybe that's unfair. I mean, I've never hated the Beatles, but I've definitely gone through phases of liking them a lot more than other phases where I've kind of fallen out of love with them a little bit. So they're far from my favourite band, and I wouldn't say I'm currently in one of those phases where I'm like super hyped on them. But that being said, I still think they're an amazing band, and I thought it might be of interest to some of you out there to see the albums of theirs that I have on vinyl. So without further ado, let's get started. I will show you once again, like I did with the Dylan, the stack. Here it is, the stack of Beatles records. You can see the gap here in my my collection where I've taken them out. So I have, yeah, it's got to be 25 here. So there are some duplicates, and you know, I haven't by any means exhausted their discography. I've still got gaps in the collection. So starting off, we have, this is the Red Album. That's what it's affectionately known as, the Red Album, I believe. There's also an accompanying Blue Album, which came out I think a bit later on, and this is more a collection of their early material. So this is a compilation album, kind of collating their early stuff. So I'll show you it's not in the best of condition, this one. I think this is either an original or very early pressing of this one. And what's cool is you get the front cover, which is them on obviously in a kind of high-rise building there, and then you flip it over and you've got them in the same building 10 years later, or like 9 or 8 years later, because obviously this was them at the very start in the kind of early 60s. This was them in, I think, 69 or 70 by the looks of things. So I think it's the same concept on the Blue Album, but it's a cool gatefold as well. This has a picture of them kind of amongst some children there, and you've got the track listing here. Yeah, some cool stuff on here. Pretty much a comprehensive kind of summary of their early stuff, and some great tracks. So, and this is a cool one because this was actually, I think, the first album I owned by the Beatles on vinyl, which is makes it a kind of cool one. So yeah, I must have received this initially kind of 8 or 9 years ago now, when I was first starting out on my collecting journey, and yeah, this is a nice one to own. Next up we have Meet the Beatles, and this is on the Capitol label, and I believe this was sent to me by somebody in the States when I was much more heavily involved in the vinyl community on YouTube, because obviously this is a US pressing. All the Capitol albums are obviously US pressings. So this is Meet the Beatles, and this is a very, very good copy, I believe. And I'm sorry, I'm forgetting again who sent this to me all that time ago. I think it was either Jeff or James Laubin, one of the two. So yeah, this is on the orange Capitol label. You got I Want to Hold Your Hand, I See Her Standing There, I Saw Her Standing There, sorry. All My Loving, Hold Me Tight, I Want to Be Your Man. So classic early Beatles, great stuff on that one. We have Beatles 6, and again this is another US pressing on the Capitol label, so Capitol Records. Yeah, really cool. And again, this must have been sent to me. I think this was sent to me by Jeff, who was in the vinyl community. But again, I could be wrong on that, so I do apologise if you're watching this and you sent this to me. But very cool one to own. This is on the Rainbow Capitol label. So yeah, obviously this isn't a studio album. I think this is more of a compilation. And I'm not like super literate on the Beatles in terms of like knowing everything, so do forgive me if I'm kind of factually inaccurate in deeming whether these are studio albums or not, because I know the Beatles had like US albums and UK albums, so the kind of canon for the UK albums is different, certainly in the early years, to the US discography. So yeah, do forgive me on that, but yeah, this is a cool one. Again, very good condition, and by the looks of it, it's pretty, you know, it's a pretty early pressing. So, and continuing the theme of albums that people sent to me, this was another one that somebody very kindly sent to me. This is Yesterday and Today, and of course this is the famous Butcher cover, as you can see there, the controversial Butcher cover, which was recalled, if I remember rightly. This was, yeah, they kind of backtracked on this one a little bit, so they released it with this very, yeah, how would you describe it, gory cover with the kind of joints of meat and the kind of baby doll parts. Very odd concept for an album cover, but the Beatles were known for doing controversial things at times. So they had to recall the album, obviously, and release it with a new cover. And I think this might have been the new cover. If anybody knows, please let me know, but I think this was the one they released subsequently after they recalled the Butcher cover. So yeah, cool story. And this is a reissue. This is obviously a reissue. The originals now are very rare. I think if I was to have an original, it would probably be on eBay right now, not gonna lie. But this is, I think it's on white vinyl. Yeah, there we go. Cool white vinyl with the Rainbow Capitol label. I'm not sure if this is a legitimate Capitol record or it's a kind of bootleg issue. I think it's original Capitol, but again, I couldn't tell you. Again, this is another album that somebody sent to me. So yeah, pretty much a quarter of my Beatles collection seemingly is albums that people have sent over to me. This one, I believe I won in a competition, again in the vinyl community, when people would do like threads and stuff. I believe this was, I entered a competition that somebody was running, and this was the one of the prizes. And this is Help, and this is another US pressing of Help, as you can see. And it's a very different cover to the UK version. So yeah, this is really nice to have, actually. I do need to play this again. I haven't played this in ages now, so yeah, Help's a great album. It's got, obviously, the title track Help is a really good Lennon song. The Night Before, I've always loved the melody to that song. I've always liked the kind of, just the sound of it has always been cool to me. And You're Gonna Lose That Girl, that's an amazing song. I think Help is actually a very underrated album. Certainly wouldn't put it up there with kind of the top 3 or 4. I'd probably put it in the top 5 though, if I was ranking the Beatles albums. So yeah, this is, yeah, again, very nice condition. I think it was Gus, I think his name was Gus, the guy that was running the competition that I won this in. So again, apologies that the name has slipped my tongue. So yeah, I wasn't even aware that I owned this. I literally have just taken these off the shelf, so I'm not even, you know, I'm finding out what these are in real time here, because I haven't played a lot of these in a long time. So I just mentioned that the UK version of Help was different, and this is indeed the UK version, the UK pressing. So much more of a simple cover, less text. And yeah, you obviously got the four Beatles there on the cover, and kind of portraits on the back there, which they were known for putting on their albums. So yeah, this is a stereo pressing. Pretty sure it's quite an early pressing as well. But again, I haven't played this album in so long, I couldn't tell you if it's in good condition or not. But yeah, as I said, really, really good album. Now we get into the era that's probably become, over time this era has become my favourite era of the Beatles, I would say, the kind of 65 to 67 period. Next we have Rubber Soul, of course. This is a mono pressing of Rubber Soul. This is, yeah, again, I think this is a pretty early pressing, a UK Parlophone label pressing. You can see black Parlophone label there. So yeah, and by the looks of it, it's not too scratched. So to be honest, I don't really remember picking a lot of these up. I think they've kind of accumulated a lot of Beatles albums over time that have ended up in my collection, but they're not really a band that I play religiously anymore. As I say, I used to be a bigger fan of theirs, and I still am. I still enjoy listening to them from time to time, but yeah, it's nice to kind of go back and kind of look what you have. It's one of the best things about vinyl, I find, is just the kind of tactile nature of it, and just pulling something out that you haven't seen in, 3 to 5 years, and just kind of rediscovering the magic of it. So yeah, Rubber Soul's a great album. Drive My Car, Norwegian Wood, which obviously inspired Dylan's Fourth Time Around, which is one of my favourites from Blonde on Blonde. Nowhere Man, Michelle, obviously famous McCartney song. Run for Your Life is kind of the closest thing I would compare the Beatles or Lennon's songwriting to Dylan's in the kind of vicious kind of put down nature of that song is quite interesting. I think he was drawing from Dylan at this point with that song, but yeah, really, really good album. Just classic Beatles from '65. Now we have a couple of duplicates. Next one is a very, very shabby copy, unfortunately, of Revolver. You can see the bottom half of this cover is just completely torn away. Back cover's okay condition, but I think this was one that was kind of an extra thrown in kind of a job lot that I picked up back in the day. So very much, I'm not even sure whether I want to keep this in the collection after seeing it. But yeah, just had some wear over the years, wear and tear. I don't know whether this is an original or not. Let me see what the label is on this one. We got, so it's Parlophone label, but it's not the classic Parlophone label look. So I'm not sure whether it's authentic or not, or should I say an early pressing or not. But certainly one I wouldn't pull out and play, because if the media condition is anything like the sleeve condition, then it wouldn't be worth putting on the turntable. Thankfully, I have another copy, and here it is. This, I believe, this is the American pressing. I think this might have been sent to me as well. So I've put this in there. So yeah, this is the remastered. I think this might just be the UK stereo remaster on 180 gram heavyweight vinyl. So yeah, it's not an American. I think this is the UK repressing from about 2012 on Parlophone. So yeah, this is my playing copy, obviously. The other one is just an extra. This is the copy I would go to. Revolver is a really good album. It's an album that I remember having discussions with some mates back in the day and saying how much Revolver was kind of overrated. I thought it was really overrated, but it's certainly been a slow burner for me over the years. I've kind of gone back to it at various times and really start to appreciate the kind of songwriting and the musicianship on this album. I'm Only Sleeping is one of my favourite Beatles tracks. She Said is really, really groovy. I love that song. And Your Bird Can Sing, For No One, Tomorrow Never Knows, obviously, classic song. Gotta Get You Into My Life. I mean, it's just banger after banger, I'm not gonna lie, on Revolver. So yes, this is probably up there in my top 3 Beatles albums, and this is a nice copy. So right, another duplicate of this next one. This is their seminal album, probably their most famous album cover, and you guys already know what it is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band from 1967. And again, this is a record that somebody sent to me. I think, oh god, I feel really bad for not remembering who sent these to me, all these albums. But it just shows the generosity of the VC back in the day. Probably still the case now, even though I'm not really involved in the VC. You know, people would kind of send these VCLT, Vinyl Community Love Trains, and where they would just send records to each other. And I was lucky enough to be on the receiving end of one with this. I mean, what can I say about this album? This album is just a masterpiece, I think. I put it on the other day actually, and just kind of hearing again, because I hadn't heard it in some time, and just hearing the layering of the songs, and just the kind of, even today you play it in 2021 or 2020 and it sounds so fresh, obviously psychedelic, but also just very, very modern, and it hasn't aged at all in my eyes. And I think the mixing as well, certainly on the stereo pressings, is second to none. So George Martin did a great job on the production work on here. Favourite tracks, I like, obviously A Day in the Life is my favourite track on here. I think that's pretty undisputed classic. So A Day in the Life would be my favourite. Lovely Rita's a great song. Lovely Rita is a really good song. I love the first 2 tracks, that just kind of the tone they set for the album is so positive and just so theatrical. I love it. You know, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and With a Little Help from My Friends by Ringo. 2 great songs there. Obviously Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Just every track, pretty much every track on here. I don't think there's a weak moment on it. And this is a special pressing, because this is, I think, a US original. So you can see the label there, capital rainbow label, and it's kind of very hard cardboard, very substantial cardboard used in this. So I don't know if that's significant or not. I'm certainly no expert on pressings, but it's got the gatefold there, and this is just in amazing condition. And I've got the insert. So again, I think I got this logged on my Discogs to which pressing it is, but I couldn't tell you right now. But all I can say is I love this album, and I'm so glad to have a kind of an original pressing of it. And then I also have another, like a playing copy. So this is the stereo reissue, the UK stereo reissue from 2012, I believe. Yeah, I think these were done in 2012 or 2012. So there we go. So yeah, it's nice to have 2 copies of an album that's, you know, I think is one of the best of all time. And obviously you got Bob on there. Everybody knows that Bob Dylan is in the mass of people behind in the crowd. He features there, which is cool. Magical Mystery Tour. This is my pressing, my 2012 stereo reissue with the gatefold. It's a very understated gatefold. There's no images or anything really apart from this. You just got the track listing and the lyrics in there as well. Again, I think this is a good album. I think it's it's obviously not fully fledged, fully formed in the way that Sgt. Pepper or Revolver is, but you know, you got the Fall on the Hill, Magical Mystery Tour, very psychedelic song. Your Mother Should Know is a real good song. It's very again, melodic and just easy to listen to. Oh, and I almost forgot. And of course, Strawberry Fields Forever is on here as well, and Penny Lane, Baby You're a Rich Man, and All You Need Is Love. So, yeah, I wouldn't go as far to say this is one of their best, but also comes with this booklet as well, which is cool. Yeah, I don't think it kind of is cohesive enough to be one of their best albums, you know, but I really think there are some killer tracks on here, and I just think it's amazing that the Beatles could put out a soundtrack album that was this high quality back in the day. Yeah, just mind-blowing that they could do that. So yeah, that is my Magical Mystery Tour pressing. I have got another pressing of it, which is this one. And yeah, exactly the same track listing on here. This is one that I picked up in Australia. So I went to Australia 6 years ago. There were some really cool record stores out there. So anybody that lives or anybody visiting Australia when it's allowed, you know, obviously when we're allowed to travel again, definitely check out the record stores, because they, it's not talked about enough how good their record stores are. But yeah, I found this in a second-hand store, second-hand record store, and I think it was quite pricey, so I don't know anything about the pressing at all. It's in stereo. I just like the cover because it's kind of an alternate cover to the one we're all used to. Next up, we have another classic. They were on such a great run at this time that it seemed that they could do no wrong. And of course, the next album they put out was the White Album in 1968. I'm not even sure I'm holding up the right. Holding up, yes, I am, because there's the embossed Beatles on there that you probably can't see. This copy, I'm unsure about. I'm not sure when I picked it up and what year it kind of came out. It's certainly not an original, because it doesn't have the. I think the original came with like 4 postcard size pictures. These pictures here, and this certainly doesn't have that. It's not in the best of conditions. I'll show you the label. It's on the Apple label. Obviously they moved over to the Apple label from '68, so it's on the Apple label there. So I think it's possible that it's a 60s pressing. It might even be an original for all I know. I can't even remember buying this, to be honest. Must have been a long time ago. But yeah, great album. Again, just full to the brim with just great songs. You know, rock songs, hard rock songs, like, you know, Revolution, Back in the USSR, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, which is probably my top 5 Beatles songs for sure. Happiness is a Warm Gun would also be in my top 10 Beatles songs. It's got some weirder tracks on there where they were obviously trying to play around and experiment a bit more with different sounds and kind of weird themes here and there, like Rocky Raccoon, obviously Wild Honey Pie. You know, it's just a bit of a mishmash of things, obviously on the White Album. But what can I say? I mean, it's a double album, and you know, it's just got so many ebbs and flows, and it goes in so many great directions that, you know, I could say so much about this, but because I'm just doing a collection video, all I'll say is that it's a great album, and it's a great album to go back to when you haven't heard the Beatles in a while. I think it's a good kind of reintroduction if you're a Beatles fan, because, as I said, it's got such an eclectic mix of tracks that there's just something for everybody on here. So yeah, this is it's amazing stuff. So this last album, I don't own, unfortunately, Let It Be on vinyl, so this is going to be the last album in my collection. This last album I actually have 4 copies of, and you're going to ask, why would you have 4 copies of the same album? The answer is, I don't know. I don't even know how I ended up with these 4 copies. As I said, my Beatles collection is not something I return to on a daily basis, but somehow I pulled these out and realised I had 4 copies. So yes, of course I am talking about Abbey Road. 1969, actually the last album they recorded, I believe. I think it was recorded after Let It Be, because the Let It Be sessions directly followed the White Album, if I've got my Beatles history correct. I could be entirely wrong on that, but yes, Abbey Road, their last classic album, I would say. Let It Be is very good, but I would argue, and many people would argue, that Abbey Road is, well, some people would say it's their best album. Obviously, probably their most famous cover of all. And actually, the record frame you can see behind me here, it's currently got Times They Are Changing in it. One of these copies actually came in the record frame when I was given it. I think I was given it by my mum originally. And I think it was this one actually. This copy of Abbey Road was mounted in the frame. So that's one reason why I've got so many copies. It's not the only reason, but yeah. First copy is this one with the Apple label. It's also got a name on it, Webb, so somebody's written their name on it, which is always slightly annoying when people do that. Next copy is this one. And I know there's ways to identify the pressings from, I know there was like some copies don't include Your Majesty, and in fact this one doesn't include Your Majesty, which I think means it's an original or, you know, first pressing or something. And I know there's something to do with the Apple here being aligned properly with the track listing, and if it's not, then it's a first pressing. There's so many little things that, you know, identify Beatles pressings, but yeah, I'm not going to get this one out, but this is probably my best condition copy, certainly of the originals. And yeah, that's probably one that I'd pull out if I wanted to hear the original versions. Next up is this one, and this one's got harder, I don't know what you call it, like harder cardboard, or thicker cardboard, should I say. So yeah, and this one's got the overlay, is that what you call it? The like sticker on the back, so it's stuck down instead of being one piece of cardboard. It's got the sticker overlay on the top. So again, I'm not sure. This one also doesn't have Your Majesty on it, but yeah, this is on the Apple label again, obviously. And last but not least, I have, again, probably my playing copy, my go-to playing copy. It is the 2012 repress, or 2012 reissue. And I notice actually now that they haven't put Your Majesty on even the reissues, so maybe it's just a very, very common thing. So I don't think any of my copies list Your Majesty as a track. Is that what it's called, the last track on the album, Your Majesty? I think it is. Again, what can I say about Abbey Road? It's just, I mean, it's Abbey Road. It's you know, one of the best rock albums of all time. I think McCartney is underrated on here, or you know, he's not underrated, but he is spectacular on here. I love songs like Maxwell's Silver Hammer. You Never Give Me Your Money is a great track. She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. I just think his voice kind of at its peak on this album. I don't think he ever reached the kind of vocal level that he reached on Abbey Road. And Lennon as well. Lennon's songwriting, Lennon's singing on here is incredible. And George Harrison, obviously everybody talks about George Harrison coming into his own, you know, in the later period, the later years of the Beatles, kind of between 67 and 70. And I totally agree with that. I think Here Comes the Sun, what's the other track on here? Something, yeah, Something as well. Two of the best tracks he ever wrote, no doubt about it. So Abbey Road, classic album, everybody agrees pretty much. And that concludes my Beatles collection. So yeah, that's all of the albums of theirs that I own on vinyl. As I said, I'm a big Beatles fan. They're not a band that I frequent very often, or you know, kind of choose to listen to very often nowadays. There are times where I'm in the mood for, you know, like an Abbey Road or a Sgt. Pepper, and even sometimes the earlier albums. But I just think, you know, there's so much music out there now and so many things that I'm interested in. That it's not like Bob Dylan where I'll listen to them on the regular, but that doesn't mean to say that I don't think they're a great band, because I do think they are. So that's the end of the video. I will be back within a few days, hopefully with the next installment in my Bob Dylan album review series, which will be Highway 61 Revisited. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you can, like the video if you can, and leave me a comment. Let me know what your favourite Beatles album is, and kind of fill in my missing knowledge, of which there is a lot of room for improvement on my Beatles history, as you can probably tell. But anything that I've missed or got wrong, let me know in the comments. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hope everybody's doing well and staying safe. Sending good vibes and positivity to everybody out there at the moment. Obviously it's a very tricky time still in this pandemic. There is potentially a light at the end of the tunnel, but we're not there yet. So stay safe, and yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time.